Hey guys, Jennifer here with Canvas Sign Designs. Today I'm going to show you how to paint our new lemon door hanger. This is new in our DIY kits. Everything that you need to paint this sign comes in your kit, and I'm going to do a step-by-step tutorial on everything that you need to know how to do to get this fabulous looking sign. So stick around. These kits are available on my website, canvassign.com. Just click on the tab Shop, DIY Paint Kits, order your kit, get it in the mail, watch the video, and voila! Cute little lemon door sign for summer. Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how I paint this lemon, and this is from my DIY paint kit that comes. You can get it on my website, canvassign.com, and this paint kit will come with this one lemon door hanger or sign, and then I have the leaves drawn out here. It also comes with this assortment of paintbrushes, and then it will actually come with two sponge brushes like this, a big one and a small one. One we're going to use to paint with, and then one we're going to use to make polka dots with. So those will be in your kit. Today I'm going to use my own brushes and my own sponge brushes, just as to not use up new ones, but I just wanted to show you what will be included in the kit. Also in this kit you will have these 4 paint colors: yellow, green, white, and black. So let's get started. First, we're gonna, what I call base coat these signs. We're just gonna kind of put the yellow coat and the green coat on here. Yellow does not coat really great, so you're gonna have to do multiple coats. But I just dip this sponge brush into the paint here, and we're just gonna run it across the sign like this. And we just wanna kind of get a really thin coat of paint on the sign so that it dries fast and is not, or is just nice and smooth. You don't need to really dunk your sponge brush into this paint, and you don't need to put it on real thick and leave it like this. A lot of people think that if they put it on really thick that it will cover better, and it just doesn't really work that way. So you're just gonna, only so much is gonna soak in until it dries. So you're just gonna wanna kind of keep it nice and thin for that first layer, let it dry a little bit, and then you can come back and put your second coat of paint on. Try to get just as close as you can to the edges of the leaves. That's what I like about these sponge brushes, is I feel like they have a little bit more control. You can kind of smooth it around like that. And then I like to turn my signs around as I paint them. That way they're easier to reach. And sometimes you might have to go like with a paintbrush and just kind of get this crack right here, or this little corner, just because it's obviously hard to get with a sponge brush. But just get it as close as you can, and then if you need to kind of follow up with a paintbrush, you can. But these just work a lot faster. And then I always go through and get my edges. You can just kind of rub the sponge brush across the edges like this. Kind of gives it a more finished look. And then now, while that yellow is drying, I'm going to go ahead and do my green up here. You can use a paintbrush for this part, just since it's not too big of an area. And again, I'm just gonna dip my paintbrush into this green, and I use this bigger one, the 5/8 brush. dip it into the green. You don't have to scoop it or get too much. You're just gonna kind of wanna put a little bit at a time and smooth it out like this. And just get a little bit more. Smooth it out. Just kind of keep doing that until you have the whole area covered. You can paint across this line right here. I just do that line whenever I'm drawing it out so I can get the angles of the leaves correctly. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to put it on real thick like this and leave lots of thick paint lines, because number one, it's going to take a really long time to dry, and it will dry real bumpy looking, and it's just not going to look right. And then just be careful when you're going around this hole, just not to get too much paint. If you go across it and you have a lot of paint on your brush, you'll get a lot of paint in there, and it could drip down through the hole, which is not a big deal. It just kind of causes a mess. So if you can prevent that, it is better. I'm just going to kind of get these edges. If you get out of line, don't worry about it, because I have a couple of tricks to cover those mess ups. So just do the best you can. If you do happen to get the green on the yellow, just try to wipe it off with your finger or a wet wipe or a paper towel, and then wait for it to dry, and then you can try to cover it up. The yellow is not very good at covering things up, so if anything, you can always just make your leaf a little bit bigger. It would probably be the best option. Don't try to use the yellow to cover up the green, because in this particular case, like I said, the yellow does not cover very well at all, and you would have to put so many coats on it to even get it to cover just a little bit. So if anything, you can get a wet wipe and just use a wet wipe on it, and then it will just take all the paint off, and then you can paint it yellow again. So I'm going to grab these sides, and as you can see, it just takes a little bit longer with a paintbrush than it does with the sponge brushes. So if you wanted to do all of your yellow and then wash your sponge brush out, dry it really, really, really good, and then do your green, you could do that. Otherwise, I would just use a paintbrush. And I kind of just go back and forth between the colors because I feel like it's faster. You certainly do not have to do that. You could do all the yellow first and then all the green. So now while that green is drying, I'm going to go back through and do another coat of yellow. You're probably going to go back and forth like at least 3 times between these two colors to get it kind of fully coated. A good solid even color. As long as you paint this really thin coat, it will dry really fast. Obviously, I'm faster at this because I've been doing it a lot longer, so your painting might be a lot slower, and that is okay. You just want to be able to relax and enjoy it and not be in a rush. the green. Now normally I would use a bigger paintbrush if it were just me painting this for an order or whatever. I would use a little bit bigger of a paintbrush, like probably something like this. It would make it go a lot faster, but I just want to show you guys something that is similar to what you have in your kit. All right, well, I am going to go over this and this again, and then I will be back to show you the next steps. Okay guys, I'm back and everything is dry now. I had to do several more layers of yellow on the sign. This yellow just takes forever, but now I have everything you see coated. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a little bit of this yellow on my plate. I'm gonna put a little bit of white next to it. And we're gonna kind of wanna mix these two together. You can, if you could use the end of your paintbrush. I just use a popsicle stick here, but I'm gonna kind of mix it in together so that it's a couple shades lighter than the yellow that's on your board, because this is what we're gonna do the polka dots with. And you'll just wanna make sure you mix enough that you have enough to do your whole sign, which I always put too much paint, so should be fine. What I had should have been fine, but anyway. So now that I mixed that together, I'm gonna take the bigger sponge brush that you had, and this is what we're gonna use to make your polka dots with, okay? So I'm gonna use this one. Hopefully this old blue doesn't show through. So I'm gonna dip it in this mixture here. You're not gonna wanna dip it and scoop it a lot like when we were base coating your sign. You're just gonna want to dip it in there a little bit. And then there's not room on this plate, but I usually kind of blot it off on the side. But if you don't have room on your plate, you can kind of just do this. That keeps it from getting too thick, because if it gets too thick, then it takes forever to dry and it's really difficult to kind of go back and do a second coat. So I'm just gonna start anywhere on my sign with this. I am going to do this so you can kind of see. We're gonna just touch it to the sign, push down and twist, and then pull straight up, okay? And you're gonna see all these little bubbles here. A lot of them are gonna pop, so just leave it alone. And we're gonna go on to our next one. I try to kind of space these apart a little bit. If you put them too close together, then there's so many of them, it just looks overcrowded. So I do my first one, then I kind of scoot over a little bit. I'm gonna do my second one. And then I make a triangle. So there's two here. I'm gonna make a triangle and put one here. And you can probably, once you get a bit on your, once you've done a couple, there will be enough yellow kind of soaked into the sponge brush that you don't have to re-dip it every time. So two here, I'm gonna make a triangle. Two here, triangle. And I'm gonna just keep doing that over the whole sign. I kind of went over just a little bit on that, but that's okay. Two here, You don't want it to look too symmetrical, because then if you make a mistake, then it's very noticeable. So I kind of just like to make it look a little bit whimsical. And if you get one that goes off the edge like this, that's okay. Just let it kind of go off the edge. I think it looks better when you have some like that. So here. Now I'm gonna get here, and it's gonna kind of run into here a little bit. So you can either just make it a little closer in, or if you want to have it run across that a little bit and then just take your finger and wipe it off. We're gonna put accent lines there, so you're not gonna see that. And again, as you can see, like if you mess up, just get a wet wipe, wipe it off really fast. And please don't stress out about it. It's kind of hard on these edges to twist it around, but just do the best you can with it. Now, like right here, I'm kind of getting into this area where I really could put two here. So I might like make one kind of go up a little bit higher than the other. That way it's just not, it doesn't look like there's two like right next to each other. And then I just kind of put a little bit of an edge right there. And then last one's right here. So as you can kind of see, this is my first one. Those bubbles kind of popped, but there's a little bit of a texture to it, and that's okay. When you go back through with your next layer, a lot of that will go away. And these don't have to look perfect texture wise. Like it's okay if these are a little bit bumpy versus your bottom coat here. What I kind of typically do is go back through and smooth it with my paintbrush, but that might stress you guys out. I know it's kind of stressful when you're not super experienced at it. Some people, just from experience at paint parties, I know they get stressed out about it. So really don't worry about it at all. But if you do want to go back through with your paintbrush, I would use this number 8 here. It's kind of it's called a filibert, but it's kind of got a rounded top to it. And I just kind of back through and smooth it. But just be careful not to do it when it's super wet, because then you will pull all the paint off. So it really is best to wait until it's a little bit more dry. But for video sake, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it now. And again, if you're not comfortable with this step, you do not have to do it. You can leave your polka dots. Nobody's going to be able to notice that texture of them from if it's hanging on your door. Nobody will pay attention to that. You pay attention to most every little imperfection in your sign because you're the one that painted it and you know it's there, but most people will not notice it. They're just gonna glance at the overall look of it and think that it looks fabulous. All right, and because I'm super detail oriented, I go back through and do the lighter color on these sides where it kind of goes over. And I didn't recoat these sides. They only have like 1 or 2 coats on them, just because you don't need to see that for video sake, but I normally coat those as many times as I coat the top. Again, that's just me. I see a lot of people that do this and make these signs that do not do that. And maybe most people don't notice. I notice that kind of thing, so I do it, but you do whatever you want. All right, and because I see this, there's a little bit of yellow on the screen, I'm gonna grab that real quick and then do just a little bit of green over that area here. Okay, so now we are ready to do all of our accents. Just gonna grab that one more time. Okay, so for the accents, I'm gonna do a little bit of white and a little bit of black. So I'm going to use these smaller round brushes in my set. I'm going to go with this number 3, and I'm going to accent around the leaves. Now, I can kind of see where my pencil line is right here still, but if you are worried you're not going to see it, you can grab a pencil and just kind of make that line to give yourself a guideline. I don't need it, but obviously you might. So for the accents, I just barely dip my brush into the white. I'm going to show you on a piece of cardboard. This is the best place to practice this. For our accents, we're going to kind of sweep across the edges. You don't need to do it like this, which is what a lot of people have a tendency to do. That kind of is busy looking and I don't think it looks right. So you're gonna kind of want to just take it and sweep it across. It's not going to be consistently thick across the whole line, and that's okay. You don't want it that way, because trying to go back and get it that same thickness is just, you're going to kill yourself, and it's not going to be a solid line. So I just roll with it. I'll do that. Sometimes I'll go back over on the opposite edge and kind of just do a little bit on top so that it just kind of thickens it up a little bit. But that's how I do that. So I'm going to dip my brush in the white, and I'm just going to start here and go over the edge, and then I like to go over that line, that transition line, so it just kind of hides it, especially when you're first starting out and you're not super straight with your lines. It kind of covers that up. So, and then if you want a little bit more, you can always kind of go back in other areas and do a little bit more. Then, but just like that, be careful not to do too much to it, because the more you do to it, the more it's going to get out of line, drive you crazy. It's just better just to kind of leave it and go with it. So now I'm going to go across. I'm probably going to go ahead and do these little half circles in here, just because it just gives it a little bit more especially if you're not gonna do lettering on it. If you're gonna do lettering on it, then I may not add this accent to these circles just because you don't want it too crazy busy. But I'm just gonna pretend like we're not gonna do lettering on it and do these. And those might take you a little bit of practice too. So, you know, if you want to get, you know, do the sponge brush on the cardboard and do a couple little practice strokes on that before you do it on your actual project, that's always a really good idea. So now that I have all that, I'm gonna kind of go along the outside border of this. Cute, cute. So now I'm going to take a smaller brush. Let's see, let's use this number 1, and I'm just going to dip that number 1 in this black here and kind of blot it off to the side. You don't want it too thick, because if you just dip your brush in the black and you try to go over your white, it's going to be thicker than your white because it's going to show up a lot more. So you don't want to do that. You want to just kind of barely dip it in, blot it off to the side, so that it's just a little bit, the white is still showing through or showing on the side. So that's why I use different thicknesses. That's why I use a smaller brush for the black, so that it's just a little bit thinner of a line. Because you don't want the black to overpower the white. And this just kind of gives it a little bit of a pop. And how thick you want these is honestly your preference. I don't like them to, my accent line's too crazy thick, but some people do, so you do your thing. So there we have it. There is our lemon. And now I'm just going to show you real quick how to, you've got a string in your kit like this. Tie one of these sides into a knot like that. And then you're going to go through one of these holes here. Just be careful that you don't drag your string across your sign if it's still wet. So just be mindful of that. And now I'm going to take this string, I'm going to go through this other hole here backwards. And you could do this the opposite way if you didn't want these little knots showing. I think they're kind of cute showing, but totally fine if you don't. So just depending on how long you want this, it's going to kind of hang at an angle a little bit. So it'll kind of hang like this. And just tie another knot here. And I like to kind of cut the extra off. And there you have it. Your sign will hang like this on your door. So you can see that. And there is your lemon door hanger. And then if you wanted to add lettering, you could just add it right on top of that. Okay, you guys have fun painting, and I hope you like this. Bye.